Blessed day, guys, and peace be upon you this morning. So in this video, we're going to learn how to configure InterVLAN routing using a multi-layer switch, which is popularly known as SVI or Switch Virtual Interface. And as you remember, in the previous video, we learned how to configure InterVLAN routing using a router, and we learned how to create sub interfaces, bind them to VLAN numbers, and assign them IP addresses, and we achieved communication between different VLANs. So today we're going to let me open Google spreadsheet. We're going to finish number 4 by handling the part 2, which is InterVLAN routing using layer 3 switch. Okay, all right. I'll open to directors on how to do configuring InterVLAN routing using layer 3 switch or SVI, switch virtual interface. So step 1, draw the necessary topology, decorate and comment. Guys, as you can see, I drew this topology intentionally. You can see on the first part, IT department is directly connected to the layer 3 switch, the multi-layer switch. HR department is directly connected to multi-layer switch. But when we come to finance department, we have included another switch here. I did this intentionally to make you understand how you can do it, whether you have another switch or you just connect directly. Okay, it's very, very important. Okay, all right. So without any further ado, let's proceed. Configure VLANs and assign VLAN IDs on the switch port as per the respective VLAN. Okay, very, very important, very, very important. So guys, basically before I can start configuring, I'll just tell you the choice of multi-layer switch that I've just chosen for this lab. You can see I've chosen 3560. When you come here, switches, you choose 3560. Okay, all right. Because when it comes to configuration, there's normally a little bit of a difference when you configure. For example, when you're configuring trunk, you know, there's some additional command that we normally include in 3650 that is not in 3650. Okay, so choose 3560 for this lab, but you can choose even 3650. But when I reach that command, I will tell you whether to include it or just to exclude it for the case of the two multi-layer switches. Okay, all right. So guys, we're going to create how many VLANs? 1, 2, 3. Okay, but you have to make sure that all the VLANs are created here also, whether it's not attached to the multi-layer switch directly or attached to it. Just make sure that you include all the VLANs here. But for this switch, you can see it's only for IT department, meaning we're going to create only VLAN 30 here. Well, but when you come to this switch, you're going to create all the VLANs that you have in your network. Okay, all right. So what I'll do is just to configure the VLANs and assign VLAN IDs to the switch port. Okay, all right. So let's go here, come to CLI and just say no, enable config T, first VLAN 10, we name it IT. Okay, then we move to VLAN 20, we name it HR. Then we move to VLAN 30, we name it FIN. Okay, all right. You can notice that VLAN 30 is not directly connected to this switch. The VLAN 30 is here, but we've created it here. Make sure you do it, because if you don't do it there, it won't work. This switch here must be aware that all VLANs must be aware of all the VLANs in the network. Okay, all right. So let's assign them. Let's assign a port's VLAN IDs. So what I'll do, I'll just try to check. Come to preferences, and always show port labels and close. And you can see this is FA01, FA02, FA01. Then is FA03, FA04, and this is FA05. So from 1 to 2 to access VLAN 10. Okay. So I'll just go here and say interface range FA0/1 to 2, switch port mode access, then switch port access VLAN 10, and you hit enter, you exit. Then we go to this range here, which is from FA0/3 and FA0/4. Then you say interface range FA0/3 to 4. Then switch port mode access. Then switch port access VLAN 20. Exit. Then we come to this switch here. Okay, because this one should be trunk. You see this one should be trunk. This switch should be trunk. So we configure these two interfaces, FA0/2 and FA0/3 to VLAN 30. Okay, we come to that switch, enable config T. So interface range FA0/2 to 3, switch port mode access, then switch port access VLAN 30. Exit. I didn't create VLAN 30 here, so I'll create it again. I didn't create VLAN 30 on this switch, so let's create it again. VLAN 30, name thing. Exit. Do right. So that's all on that. Oh no, we still have to do the trunk here. Okay. All right. So what I'll do, I'll go back to options again, click to preferences, and untick this one. If you untick this one, make sure you untick this one first and tick it again. Okay. Packet tracer normally have some challenges. Okay, so do the way I've done it. All right. So guys, we've assigned ports the role. I mean ID VLAN numbers. Okay. So let's go back to our config guide. So configure trunk on the link connecting the two switches. So guys, this one and this one should be trunk. Okay. All right. So this one is FA0/1 and this one is FA0/5. So I just go here and say interface FA0/1 switch port mode trunk. Exit and do right. So we are done everything on that switch. So let's go to this switch and configure FA0/5 at trunk. Okay. Interface FA0/5 switch port. So this is where I was telling you that when we come to a 3560 switch, we need to include additional command before we make it trunk. So what's just I mean, if I just say switch port mode trunk, you will see the problem here. You see, an interface whose trunk and composition is ATO cannot be configured as trunk mode. So there's additional command that you have to include there before we make a trunk. So what's the additional command? Just say switch port trunk encapsulation.1q. That's all, and hit enter. So if you just try switch port mode trunk again, you see it's now working. So when it comes to a 3560 switch, always include this one before you include switch port mode trunk. But for 3650, remember this one is 3560. But for 3650, you don't need to include this one because it's there by default. Okay, we just go straight to this one. All right. So exit and do right. So let's go back to our config guide. All right, configure IP addresses to the computers as per the subnet, and configure default gateway in advance. Use the first IP. So for example, we're going to use this network to configure this computer, this network for these computers, this network for these computers, and the default gateway should be the first IP address. Here should be 10.1, 20.1, 30.1. Okay. All right. So let's start. Come desktop here and say 1 and 2.168.10. Let's say start from 0.5, 10.5. I copy, then I come here and make the default gateway the first IP address .1. Okay. All right. So I'll do it very fast, guys, to save time because you don't have much time here. And 30.1. Good. Right. So we've done IP addressing on the computers. So guys, let's proceed. We see what's next. Try to ping hosts in different VLANs. This should never work. So let's try to ping from VLAN 10 to VLAN 20 or to VLAN 30. So try to ping come to command prompt and ping 192.168.20.5. Okay, so that's will not work, so let's proceed. Configure SVI on the layer 3 switch and assign IP address of the subnet. We are going to configure SVI, switch virtual interface. InterVLAN routing using multi-layer switch is normally popularly known as SVI. Okay, so how do we create SVI? I'll click on this switch and I will take you up here. Remember, we created VLANs. So for us to create a SVI or a switch virtual interface, we use these VLAN numbers. Okay, so for VLAN 10, we just say interface VLAN 10, and that's all. And we say no shut in case it was shut down. Interface VLAN 10. So this is the SVI. So what we do, we just assign IP address to this SVI. And which IP address do we assign here? The one that we will use for VLAN 10 as the VLAN 10 default gateway. So it was our IP address to be 192.168.10.1. Subnet mask 255.255.255.0, and we hit enter. We just exit. That's all. We come to interface VLAN 20 for VLAN 20 and just say no shut. In case it was shut down, it will turn up. Okay, and we'll send the IP address of 20.1. Okay, then we finally come to exit first. Finally come to interface VLAN 30. Just say no shut, turn it up in case it was shut down. Then assign the IP address of 30.1. Guys, we are done. Do right. Sorry guys, I missed one step which is very important for routing. You know, remember this is a layer 3 switch and by default it just acts like a switch. Okay, so we have to make it act like both as a router and a switch. So I forgot to write something here, very important, very important guys. I forgot to write something very important here. So let's number 8 to be enable IP routing. Sorry guys, sorry. So that's very important. So this one become our number 9. So before we test guys, let's enable IP routing, so that this switch here carries both switching and routing roles. Okay, all right. So just say IP routing. Okay, do right. That's all. Now everything should work. So when I come back to this computer here, remember the first time we tried to ping that one and this one, they were all timeout. So let me start from this one first. See, so let's just give it some time. It will ping. I believe it will ping now because we've enabled IP routing and we've configured InterVLAN routing. So what about 30.5? So don't forget to write IP routing, which to enable IP routing on the multi-layer switch is very important. Okay, all right. So guys, you can see we've achieved communication. So guys, basically we've learned how to enable devices in different VLANs to communicate, okay, using InterVLAN routing protocols. And I will come back to our Google spreadsheet and mark number 4 as done. Yes. So thank you so much guys for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video, share with friends, and drop a comment below. Bye and see you again in the next class.